Another takeaway from the press conference today. Tight end position. Half the questions are kind of just like, hey, what do you think of Alabama? Hey, what do you think of Michigan? Not the most hard hitting questions. Some are like, what's up with your defensive coordinator, Brandon Ayuk? There's one question like, what do you make of the tight end position and how important it is? And he went on this whole thing about how when he was a player, he felt they were tight ends and safeties. He was a safety, were really undervalued financially, and that they're so integral in team success. They're right in the middle of the field. You can't avoid them, yada, yada, yada. And then he went on, he was like, well, Green Bay last year drafted 2 tight ends, and that really changed their team and added a lot to what they do. And these days, man, you can't just have one guy. You got to have 2. And then he was on a roll. As he said that part, I don't know if you guys saw it. It seemed like he almost was like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that. And he tried quickly to change the subject to Antonio Gates should be in the Hall of Fame, which is neither here nor there. But yeah, coming back to that thing you said earlier that you tried to bury, teams should have 2 tight ends. Yes, I agree, John. Teams should have 2 really good tight ends. And that's why the Niners drafted Cam Latu last year, because they realized they don't have 2 tight ends. They have 1. And he's almost 31. And he's been playing 90% of their snaps for his whole career, and they need another guy. Don't believe me? Ask John Lynch. Got to have 2. Cam Latu, he was a big swing, probably a swing and a miss. There were a lot of tight ends that went last year in the draft, and they took a guy sort of at the end of the run, and we'll see. But the one thing about the Niners we've seen is they're not sentimental with their draft picks. They will replace you immediately. Look at the running backs. They drafted Trey Sermon in round 3. Didn't go so well for him. They came back the very next year, drafted Ty Davis Price in round 3. Didn't go so well for him, and now they're both gone. So if Lynch is serious about this, and they're looking for a tight end, I mean, they were last year, and they didn't get anything from Cam Latu. Don't be surprised if they draft one in round 2 or round 3 this year. And it doesn't matter that they took one last year. That's what another one takeaway I got from this one. Big needs for the 49ers, tight end. They got nothing from Latu. Kyle Juszczyk's probably a year away from being cut. And this is a team that doesn't want to be a one-back, 11 personnel offense. They're a run-first team. They want to have 7 potential blockers in the formation. They want to have the most intricate blocking schemes. They don't want to vanilla themselves down with one back, one tight end, and a bunch of wide receivers. It's not going to be who they are. So will they find another fullback? How do you find another fullback? They're rare. Colleges don't even play with fullbacks most of the time anymore. Is Harvard producing anymore? And if in case they're not, the Niners, if they're going to replace Juszczyk one day, may replace him with a tight end and move to more of a 2 tight end offense, which is similar. Considering really how often is Juszczyk really playing fullback anyway? A lot of times he's like an H-back detached from the formation, but more playing like tight end anyway. So when you're watching the combine this weekend, make sure you're looking closely at the tight end spot. I know there's that guy, Brock Bowers. It's going to go in the first round. They could take him. I don't expect they will. But if there are guys that could go in round 2, that's the day 2. Round 2, round 3, that's the Kyle Shanahan round. The day where head coach who's been watching film for like 2 months decides he has some draft crushes and he insists on who they draft. That's what I'm guessing. Which tight end is Kyle Shanahan going to fall in love with this year? Because George Kittle might have more than 2 catches for 4 yards in the Super Bowl if they make it back next year, if they don't have to like wear him down September, October, November. Isn't he a little bit old for that? I think he's a little bit old for that. George Kittle's a tremendous weapon, but he's almost always a little hurt, a little worn down, and that's not really his fault. The Niners have failed forever at getting a quality backup for him. No offense to Ross Dwelley, who I think is just swell, but they don't use him. Charlie Warner isn't a factor. Cam Latu couldn't catch the ball. Tight end is a big position for this team. I can see them going D-line, linebacker, tight end with their first 3 picks. Yeah, I said it. What do you guys think?